so far in the OPL. Has been known to play a whole heck of a lot of other champions, but that is all he's brought out thus far in the competition. And look, we'll see whether he brings back the Zed, the Diana, something like that.
Yeah, he does have a diverse champion pool, but obviously choosing these two because they are so impressive and strong at the moment, it's unbelievable. There's another mid-base ban almost taken away.
Not sure. We've been seeing it a lot in the top lane, haven't we, Rusty?
Could be anywhere. There's even been Jungle Fizz in the LCK.
That is true. Been all sorts of stuff, but Cassiopeia going to be banned away as well. And just because we want to put it there, considering the fact that all of these bans could potentially be aimed at the mid lane, that is what we're going to say for this
stick
one.
With that now.
Yeah, most definitely. Of course, Midbeast, a massive assassin player as well, so interesting focus. Yep, that is 100% mid lane bans. Cool beans.
That's a lot of mid focus, but then it's a pseudo top focus as well, of course.
Yeah,
We've got the Fizz and the Rise that can both be in either
theoretically.
lane, so
Cassiopeia theoretically.
now that we have a look at the completed ban list, we have got to focus on a lot of specifics, which is what we can take away from this, which does leave open the possibility of all of the junglers first and foremost.
Exactly.
We've got the Gragas, the Sejuani, the Rek'Sai, even the Nunu if need be. And then we've got the top laners, the Hecarim still available, Gnar still available.
Rumble still available.
Everything, Maokai even.
Yeah, and of course, you know, Sin can opt for something like more of that support mid laner as well. Lulu is also still there, but Alistair, he's the one that slipped through, and Sin going to put the highest priority on that pickup.
Whoa.
That is going to mean that Absolute able to grab the top tier for the rest of the lanes, and that is going to be the Maokai and the Gragas. Maokai just so diverse in his uses in a team comp as well, so really able to pick that one up, and no one knows exactly what you're aiming for. Of course, Gragas fits under that category as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most played is going to be Maokai for Jack Attack as well, so safely and confidently picking that one away. We didn't even get to the bot lane to mention supports. Alistar picked up immediately. Extremely strong, but it does also leave open Nautilus for Absolute as the response if they choose to pick that next.
Yeah, if they want to go for their own sort of version of that engage style support. Not going to be able to dive turrets quite as easily, but more than happy to grab it. And there's the pick away of the Rumble. We mentioned it before. Of course, not getting a look in there, but it is going to be able to burn down that tree in the top lane potentially, and we'll see whether there is going to be a lane swap to try and deal with that one. And Juve's locking away the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, so a standard counter or a soft counter pick into the Maokai is the Rumble, and it does very well in lane, which is important because Rumble works around the power spikes. And they've locked in the Rek'Sai with that, which means between the three of them, they've already got a very strong mid game.
Yeah, and look, Mattress back on the Nautilus as well. And ladies and gentlemen, Mattress now going to be a staying support, now on the main roster here for Absolute. Strawbella going to sit down on the bench in the sub role, and they're going to switch them on out. So, of course, 100% Nautilus being played by Mattress, may as well just not show anything else. But the interesting thing is Kulo, he's picked up Vayne.
Yeah, known for his Lucian and Sivir, and even like with the Jinx as well. There's more high range and team sort of based champions. It's just Vayne doesn't necessarily facilitate that as well, but it is a Kulo champion through and through.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very aggressive player that always wants to opt towards flashing at you more so than away. And
man goes in is basically what he does. He just goes in, doesn't really mind whether he dies or not. Of course, went 0-5-0 in one of his most recent performances, but has, on the other hand, gone ridiculous scoreline, something like 11-0-5, 11-1-5, something like that in Absolute's victory. So very, I guess, a polarizing player on the side of Absolute. Now Sin thinking about what they want to bring, and it's going to be the Corki Zed, so making up for the lack of physical damage well, I guess they've got a Rumble, so didn't necessarily need to pick the Corki, but look, still able to pick that one up, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, so they're opting to have almost like a 5-man if they want to, 5-man comp. Otherwise, they just have the split from the Zed now. It's a very... They've made up for the lack of AD damage because of the Corki in the Rumble with that Zed pick.
Yeah.
So picking it at the same time, it does kind of even that out. And it's a very well-rounded in terms of damage comp. Their scaling is quite good still. It does start to drop off towards the end of a game for to compare, depending on what Absolute's last pick is.
Well, even if we're not going to talk about it dropping off, it definitely has a gigantic power spike at that level 6 mark. Of course, Corki going to be getting towards that that Trinity Force. You've got Rumble with double pen items and the Equalizer available level 6. These dragon fights around the level 6 mark for Sin Gaming are going to be terrifying, if I know anything about this game.
Well, anything that involves a Rumble is generally going to be terrifying.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going for.
Yeah, and then that's without adding the rest of his team, which are going to be able to work around that perfectly as the LeBlanc is locked in.
Yeah, LeBlanc going to be added to that mid lane roster. So, of course, when you've got 100% mid lane bans and LeBlanc doesn't make it onto the list, you know something's going very, very strangely. We're not on 5.11 just yet, so not going to have the width of the chains nerfed as much. Of course, the missile speed of distortion. Do you call it missile speed? Do you call it movement speed, not entirely sure, but it's not going to go as far.
Distortion speed?
Yeah.
Just go with that.
You can't distort as quickly.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, either or, you don't move as fast.
Yeah, well, they've opted to go for the LeBlanc as their last pick, and it provides them a lot of... It's a very weird way to describe it, but they've got Siege now from where they normally wouldn't. And I know that sounds weird, but LeBlanc is underrated as amazing Siege capabilities because the threat for diving is exponentially increased from the amount of damage that she can put down prior to actually sieging. She can flank, put in the damage, and get out in the relevant situations, which enables sieging. But sieging aside, their team comp is stupidly tanky.
Most definitely is, of course. Yeah, LeBlanc probably not so much on the tankiness side of things, but the rest of them definitely going to be able to sit in that fight for quite some time. Sort of, you look over the other side and you think Rek'Sai maybe, but may not have quite enough gold in order to be that. And of course, when you do have the ultimate running, and Alistar is going to be fantastic at tanking things up, but the rest of the lineup are just going to explode.
Yeah, they're definitely going to explode. The damage that they can put out from both teams, in fact, their mid laners and their AD carries, is going to be massive, even Rosie in the top lane. So everyone is going to be exploding if the initiation is right, but we'll just see how they play it out.
Yeah, and it looks to me like Absolute with a little bit more of that, I guess, single target sort of pick comp style, whereas you got a lot of AoE coming through from Sin. But ladies and gentlemen, hop over to Twitter. Let us know who you think is going to win this game. Use that hashtag SinWin, one of my personal favorites just because it does rhyme so nicely, or ABS win if you really like breaks. And look, make sure you let us know exactly who you think is going to take this game, because this one could be very, very close. Both of these teams coming through from the OCS and looking to pick up some more victories. Sin with a little bit more success thus far, but Absolute really wanting to start picking up some victories here. And if they go up against their OCS rivals, they might have a little bit of an extra desire to take this game.
Yeah, they might have that little edge from having played against each other as well. But something that we haven't actually mentioned about both of these teams, as we are now seeing the Finnish team comps available, is that they are both momentum-based teams. When they compete against each other, or any other team, in fact, the games that they've won, they've started ahead and they've cemented that lead and carried out the game very strong. But Sin, as the example, is when they start to lose a lead, even if they've lost the momentum in some roundabout way, they end up losing the game.
Yeah, that does happen. And of course, that is derived a little bit from that mid laner. Of course, Rymeister does tend to, if he's playing well, play phenomenally well. But if things don't necessarily go so great for Sin, even if it is just a slight hiccup in the mid game, something like that, they can sort of, Rymeister especially, just falls off just a little bit. I don't want to use the word tilt, but I think I'm going to anyway, because it describes exactly what is represented by his play a lot of the time. Whereas you look over the other side, Absolute, I think it's a large thing based on Kulo. And it's not necessarily based on tilt. It's because he plays super hyper-aggressive every single time, irrespective of how anything's going. So if you're ahead and you're doing that, you're going to win. If you're behind, you're just going to die.
Yeah, Sin are more emotional, whereas it just feels like Absolute play well from ahead because they play so aggressively that being ahead only complements them further. And Kulo, 10-0 when he wins, 0-5 when he loses, it's safe to say that he's going to be the lane to look for to see how they perform.
Yeah, that is so true. But let's step away from the game just for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a competition running over on our Twitter. You can win a sweet Logitech Daedalus mouse if you just follow these simple instructions. So tweet photos of the first dragon kills in games 3 and 4 today. The first 3 entries, so you've got to be very, very quickly, will win the Daedalus mouse. And all you have to do is tweet both of the pictures over to @LOL_Oceania and use that hashtag IamOPL and just be as quick as you possibly can. Only 3 to give away, so you got to make sure that you've got your finger on the trigger when it comes to taking those first dragons. So first dragon kill for both of those final 2 games. Of course, 3 and 4.
Yeah, make sure it is in game 3 and 4, of course, not the game coming up.
Yeah, you can't do anything sneaky. We'll see the nameplates, ladies and gentlemen. So if it says Sin Absolute or Chiefs Direwolves, we'll be onto you. Promise.
Yeah, no, we'll be aware of that. Yeah. We'll remind you again after this next game, of course, just so you know that it is 3 and 4 and you haven't accidentally done a screenshot of the game that's just passed.
Hey, if you put 4 pictures, I guess you could probably still do it. Just throw in some extra work. You're not going to get any extra points or anything like that, but you could just do it for fun if you feel like it. I don't know. I like screenshotting stuff, so maybe you do too. But let's hop back into the game. Of course, Sin versus Absolute, and I'm excited about this mid lane matchup because Zed versus LeBlanc, and it's also going to be Midbeast taking on Rymeister, and we spoke about this as being a bit of a topsy-turvy type situation there in the mid lane because Rymeister known for his phenomenal mechanics, especially in the laning phase, but Midbeast has been slipping just a little bit. How do you think this goes on paper, and how do you think it's going to go based on this matchup?
Zed and LeBlanc is a very volatile lane, first and foremost, because either of them can die. LeBlanc's got an innate advantage of having range with the auto attacks, but it doesn't really tend to impact once Zed hits around that level 3 mark. You have all of the spells available. And Rymeister in particular, he's super aggressive and he wants to kill you in lane. And Zed, the kind of champion that you can utilize a high mechanical ceiling for, you can find kills even at the early stages against the champion like LeBlanc, who has such a low health base.
Yeah, well, that's true, and we'll see whether he is going to try and sort of take advantage of the fact that maybe his mid lane opponent for this game, not necessarily of the caliber that we've seen in other teams here in the OPL thus far. Of course, Midbeast been struggling to perform just a little bit over the last little while, but maybe things have turned around. Midbeast, of course, we've mentioned about his solo queue performance. This guy can do amazing things if he's in the right situation.
Definitely can do amazing things. Even in games where they have come out as a loss, he started 3-0 in laning phase. So if there's one thing worth noting between these two, it's that the laning is equally strong. The aggression is still there. It's just that they struggled with Midbeast to translate that early aggression into a mid-game or late-game spike. So for laning phase in particular, and with these two champions, it will be very interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is. And is the sort of, I guess, general aim here for Absolute to sort of ignore a large part of the team fighting in the early to mid game as we hop into the game, ladies and gentlemen? Or are they just going to bring it to Sin and try and battle them on their own terms?
They might not want to just straight bring it to Sin. I think there is a way to approach bringing it to them, but if you bring it to them when they've got the Equalizer and an Alistar available, it will get turned around onto you very quickly. So you need to look at hitting a priority target immediately to start it all off, and then it will go well.
Yeah, eliminate one of those parts. But ladies and gentlemen, we are, of course, onto the Rift. Sin taking on Absolute for our first game of the night. Of course, second day of week 3. Our team's really starting to get comfortable with the OPL as we do have 5-man invades on both sides searching for a potential lane swap. Or is it just going to be setting up for some sort of gank? There's Absolute throwing saplings around, seeing if they can get things going on. Malik going to get that deep ward so they can see when the bottom lane is moving towards the clashing minions over there. But no one's going to be there just yet, and both of our teams just going to be heading towards the lane. And it looks like Absolute, they want a lane swap.
Yeah, both teams doing the exact same thing at the start. They're placing down the wards to see if someone wanted to lane swap. You'll most likely see the AD carry and support Stealthix and Trashboat here from Sin walk towards the mid lane, wait until they spot someone, which I believe that ward in the top lane already has.
I think it may have missed.
It actually might have, because they haven't reacted. But this one will spot. You'll see instantly the rotation is that Sin want the 2v2. They're going to go straight top lane now in response to being spotted there, and they're going to get standard lanes.
Yeah, upside down laning here, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to have both Rosie and Stealthix and Trashboat with sort of their desired laning matchup, and things already going fantastically from, I guess, a micro perspective here for Sin early on, despite nothing happening at all. And Bane Nautilus, not necessarily that familiar with how this lane necessarily works out as a duo, but do you think it's all that bad here for Absolute?
The big talking point about that lane is they want the Corki into the Vayne, because the Corki can make the Vayne suffer. If you have a look at the supports, both level 1, Trashboat's not going to really provide anything without using his flash, and then Mattress will be using the Riptide just to put down some semblance of damage, but nothing in particular. Once level 2 comes out, though, as Malek might even be looking here in mid.
Yeah, speaking of level 2, Midbeast a little bit late picking up either the Sigil of Malice or, of course, the Distortion, which a lot of these LeBlancs tend to take first. And Malik unable to find anything in his very early movements, but is able to just transition over to that blue buff, pick that one up, and continue the jungle pathing. But so far, Sin head just a little bit. Oh, Rymeister actually using the Shadow. Maybe a little bit late, did take the damage from the Distortion, but things already heating up in the mid lane.
The idea was definitely there, and Rymeister doing his best at trying to out-trade Midbeast early. Both of these players going to be super aggressive, as we have noted, and we'll see what actually unfolds as Malik has already put pressure down there, expecting the Shadows to be used aggressively, and I'm not surprised.
No, neither am I, as Sin. They have shoved in this turret. Phosphorus Bomb not going to find anything here. Is Absolute able just to farm this one up underneath the turret. Nice use of the Relic Shield from Mattress just to make sure that they nail all of the CS. Juve's hanging around here. Tremor Sense available. Knows that there's no Gragas's there. Looking for some sort of burrow gank. Going to find himself some Raptors, might be able to pick those ones up, and Gragas going to head back to base, pick up his Trailblazer, and everyone is going to be absolutely fine. Or is he trying to burn down the tree?
Completely standard start here. So Sin getting what they wanted, which is the Rumble into the Maokai in particular, and the Corki has a decent lane against the Vayne. So getting the 2v2 puts them in a comfortable position to work towards the Sin's real objective, which is hitting those power spikes with the Trinity Force and the flat magic pen from the Rumble, and then fighting for objectives once they scale a little bit later, as Juve's just poking his head in.
Yeah, he's looking for something. Is going to mean that Cooler's going to miss a little bit of farm there as Trashboat just going to hang out. Oh, nice dredge line going to land onto Stealthix here. Takes half of his health, actually. That Titan's Wrath doing some work. His Phosphorus Bomb is going to answer, but Trashboat taking a lot as well, and a nice trade from Absolute.
A very weird trade, to say the least, though, as Kulo was getting free hits down the whole time, and Stealthix having to respect Mattress, sitting back and barely getting any damage out whatsoever, which is a big trade in favor of Absolute here. And Stealthix having to use his pot while the Vayne didn't is going to affect that lane.
Yeah, it's massive. Of course, Vayne pretty comfortable as far as the CS is concerned as well. Now ahead by a couple, but of course, with the lane just chilling out there, things aren't going to be too, I guess, different.
Malik's back.
Yeah, looking for Rymeister, of course. Does have Flash, does have Shadow, so he's going to be okay. Midbeast doesn't throw out the chain, just heads back towards that distortion, and nothing going to be found. Of course, Malik just wants to put on pressure in this lane so that Rymeister knows that probably shouldn't go too aggressive.
I mean, it's not too bad, really, just to show yourself, as Rosie's even being aggressive. He might all in this.
Yeah, he's looking for Jack Attack here. Silences himself. Those auto attacks doing some work as the Harpoons had landed as well, waiting for those cooldowns to come back, but Flamespitter doesn't really want to dive the turret, and Jack Attack just going to head back to base. But not going to miss out on too much in his wave. Oh, might actually be in a bit of an awkward position.
Only level 5 removes the kill pressure, but you can see
Look at the CS, though.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, Maokai beating Rumble just handily as they go in again.
Yeah, Kulo looking for something here. Wants to try and find that tumble up again, but not going to get anything. And Absolute just going to switch the lanes back. Look for some free time here in the bottom lane.
Yeah, looking to get that 2v2. Maokai immediately going back towards the top lane. Considering how the lane started out, though, interesting that they did opt to swap back, considering a 10 CS lead was in favor of Jack Attack in a 1v1 in what was considered a soft counter lane.
Yeah. And I guess it's just because, you know, Rumble more difficult to farm on, because it looked like Rosie was able to get the aggression down, just wasn't able to get the last hits in.
Yeah, it did seem like he was struggling a little bit, but you can see immediately the response from Absolute, putting their bot lane back into their natural habitat. They're going to start immediately pushing this turret down and put as much damage as they can on as possible before Sin rotate in response, which is 100% going to happen. Sin want the 2v2 and the 1v1 still.
Well, by the looks of things as well, Rymeister having a decent time in the mid lane as there's the distortion. Oh my goodness, the ultimate from Rymeister. Chains land though, but there's first blood as Midbeast just burns to death in the mid lane.
Once Rymeister hits 6 on that Zed, if you use the distortion offensively, there's always the pressure that you may go down in a 1v1. And Rymeister doing what he does best, being aggressive this early in the laning phase, picking up a 1v1 kill against Midbeast, as we're going to see a replay of this. And the first thing to note, the Shadow is used aggressively, dodges the chains with his ult. The second chain's having to be used by Midbeast, but the damage was already there, and it was enough to kill him.
Yeah, fantastic play from Rymeister, and this is what we expect from him. Lots of aggression early on, making sure that he can get everything moving for his team. But Absolute able to weather the storm as far as the other lanes are concerned. Sin have switched things back on towards the bottom side, going to mean that we've got even amounts of people towards any dragon aggression that is going to come through. Of course, 7.5 minutes into the game, nothing sort of look to as far as that dragon is concerned at all. Let's see whether that is going to change as this game moves forward.
4 bottom, though.
Yeah. Juves and Trashboat heading towards something here, but no one to be found.
You can see at the same time the response from Malik is to be in the top lane. If he gets spotted, which he is by a ward, they may want to go straight for the dragon, perhaps.
You could try and find that, of course. Greg is fairly maneuverable, especially for a man of his size.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that he's got so much mobility as a relatively rotund human.
There's a lot of questions about League of Legends, but Gragas's mobility is not the first thing that comes.
I think it is. I think it's one of the first.
I mean, how is Zach a thing?
That's a very good point. Although I've seen Flubber, so I sort of understand.
Yeah, I guess.
Yep. Rymeister going to continue farming here in the mid lane as Midbeast still under a lot of pressure. Look at these shurikens. Not even level 9 yet, and Rymeister's able to get so much damage down with those. Now with the Bilgewater Cutlass and a couple of long swords. It's definitely pretty terrifying man in the mid lane. Jack Attack going to get burnt down once more, but Juves is on the way. Jack Attack turns it around just a little bit, but that's Twisted Advance on cooldown now. Preseeker doesn't find him, but there's the red buff slowing him down. Nice Arcane Smash, but Jack Attack, flashes, but going to get blocked by minions a little bit, and Sin just going to destroy him there. Juves picking up the kill credit.
A questionable flash when he should have probably just recognized that he was going to go down. The pressure was well and truly there. Rosie still having the ultimate available. Instead, he does still go down, blows a summoner for it, and now Rosie does have all of his available and the ultimate for if they do want to rotate.
Oh, actually, Mattress going to... There's the depth charge as well, actually throwing everything out as Malik's down here on the bottom side of the map. Trashbo gets stunned up by the passive of Mattress, but Sin able to move underneath the turret, and Stealthic's even able to lock down that cannon creep, and nothing to be found here for Absolute in the bottom lane. Nothing
directly achieved from it besides a lot of pressure in lane, and it's going to be very difficult for Sin to stay in this bot lane and have the 2v2 when the advantage was so heavily in favor of Absolute. They're now opting to recall again. And the question is, are they going to try and rotate back towards opposite lanes or standard?
Well, Jack Attack, he's going to get discovered one more time as the equalizer comes down. Jack Attack moves over it. He does have the ultimate blocking some of the damage here, but Arcane Smash is there. Still going to get burnt down, though, and Juves locks himself another kill. And this is just what happens when you have the lane in such a fantastic position here for Sin.
Exactly, and this is also the problem when you don't have your flash available up against what is still the Rumble ultimate and the mobility and the gank potential provided by a Rek'Sai here. Juves very smartly coming back to that top lane after recognizing that the flash was down and that he was also pushed in too far to even consider escaping.
Yeah, and of course, now with the teleport on cooldown as well, Jack Attack can go for the long walk back towards that top lane. Now has boots, but things looking a whole lot better here for Rosie. Probably would have liked to pick up at least one of those kills, because theoretically he's still behind as far as that gold is concerned, being 30 CS in deficit. But we'll see how things turn as this game progresses. Of course, now with the Haunting guys almost towards that Leandries, things can only get better for the Rumble.
In fact, Maokai is probably still ahead of Rosie at the moment in terms of gold, and he's got the double Doran's Catalyst, so he's opted towards a more early game item-based build, and still going to be even with gold is a big win for Jack considering.
Oh, it most certainly is. One thing I'm really worried about, though, for Absolute is the fact that Rymeister's being completely unanswered here in the mid lane, almost with a 30 CS advantage here against Midbeast, who's decided to go on holiday, says that I don't want to be in the mid lane. We are going to have a slight pause, ladies and gentlemen, as Midbeast gets his stuff sorted out. He's going to be back towards that mid lane, but like we said, probably doesn't want to, because Rymeister looking very, very strong.
Yeah, he's been doing very well in this mid lane 1v1. It's not to say that it was expected, but aggression was definitely expected, and it was going to go one way or another. In this case, the Zed picking up a solo kill, and considering the amount of pressure that Malik has actually put into this mid lane early, that's a really bad situation to be in for Absolute.
Yeah, Juve sort of like, I guess, poked his head in for a moment there in the mid lane, but otherwise has been leaving it relatively unhindered. And Rymeister's just excelled in his natural habitat, which is in a 1v1 duel for as often as he possibly can.
Yeah, he wants to do that, and even once he starts getting fed, he'll probably split push late game, because he is Zed first and foremost, and his Rymeister second.
And both of those factors going to mean that you generally want to be split pushing. And the thing is Kulo going to get himself to a position where he can answer the Zed's split push? Because I'm thinking to myself, like, Vayne probably one of the champions that would want to be in a 1v1 situation, but is Vayne ever going to be able to make it work? I mean, with a QSS, of course, against a Zed.
It's possible with a QSS, but it's not recommended ever, really, because there's no purpose for you to really be split pushing. You've got the Maokai who can handle him quite all right, should not ever really go down unless there is a Last Whisper finish super early for Rymeister. But, I mean, they should be content with having Vayne actually be a part of the team fights.
Well, of course, they probably want their AD carry.
Yeah, not split pushing. Or 1v1ing a Zed.
I actually don't mind Vayne into Alistair as well. Of course, you can use those Silver Bolts in order to get a bit of true damage past the ultimate. That one does come through.
That hurt.
Yeah, that hurt me.
He's got a Brutalizer and he's level 9, so it is max shurikens. No real surprise, but the damage was quite surprising.
It certainly was. The Sin going to be able to take down this dragon. Not too much response from Absolute just yet. They're looking to try and get in there, but no vision available around the dragon area. And Sin just going to lock that one down themselves. Juve's just sacrificing half of his health bar for it, and it means the dragon goes down for the first time at 12 minutes into this game. Trashboat going to get body slammed, and Mattress going to come through with a Riptide. As there's the flash, actually. Headbutt onto Mattress, back into Juice, who knocks him up as well. Mattress pretty tanky, though, uses his shield in order to keep himself alive. Gets burnt a little bit as well by the Ignite. But Sin not going to find anything. They're just throwing around their summoner spells as much as they can.
I guess Trashboat getting a little bit hyphy because they were trying to kill his wards and turns it around on them. They put some damage down. It is relevant damage, but nothing actually going to come from that. A lot of pressure being put here, though. The more that they can avoid being in the mid lane here, the Sin lineup, the more that that exact thing can continue to happen, where Rymeister is going to quite easily control mid beast at the moment. And eventually, within probably a wave or two, maybe even this wave, the tower will go down solo.
Yeah, and that's a 40 CS advantage here as well for Rymeister, who's definitely farming very, very well. 13 minutes with 119 CS. Things are looking fantastic. Well and truly towards that 200 CS at 20-minute mark. And you can see there's the turret going down exactly like you said. Maybe even a little bit earlier than you would have expected here, as Juve's going to head towards the bottom side of the map. Is spotted by a ward, though. Discovers that there's one there and he's going to be able to clear that one out. But a lot of vision on the bottom side. 4 men strong moving there from Sin. And Kulo and Mattress have to be very careful.
They need to respect this potential dive from 4 men. A level 10 Zed with the Cutlass and Brutalizer available. They had the Rek'Sai to spot someone, but it doesn't look like they're going to commit too hard to this dive unless Juves was just putting a tunnel for further notice. Yeah, he's going to come back around. They're looking to go. Yeah,
mid-beast, of course, down here now as well. And Rymeister actually going to get caught. There's the Condemn into the wall, immediately destroyed. And mid-beast able to lock that one down for himself. Going to feel fantastic about that one. And Absolute looking to try and turn it. And yeah, I think Rymeister just getting a little bit over-aggressive, over-excited as they moved into the bottom lane. Sin now still on the retreat as Trashboat going to get caught by a dredge line. Whoa, that's a lot of phosphorus bomb damage as Jack Attack is down here as well. Another teleport to come in as Jack Attack forced to use that flash. Of course, needs that on cooldown basically. But there's a flash forward. Stealthix locks down the kill. And Sin, they get one back. But losing Rymeister that quickly, definitely not a good thing. But Absolute still, I guess, behind.
Yeah, on the back of Rymeister not being able to use his ultimate, straight away condemned into the wall after hooked by the Nautilus. Well done to combo that perfectly, so he didn't actually get an opportunity at all to use any spells because he was CC for days. They're diving again.
Yeah, Trashboat actually tanking up the turret though.
Wow.
And look, Malik comes back in. Nice work using... Oh, actually, Rosie taking a lot of damage here as well as Kulo. Oh, he's going to fall for it as Rosie able to turn that one around. Stealthy's completely out of mana. Mattress going to die to Juves, and Malik now finds himself without any friends, and Sin with the man advantage able to try and pressure him out of here, but they're just going to take down the farm, and things have got very, very exciting here in the bottom lane, Rusty.
Yes, almost looking a bit messy, but it definitely always seems to work out in the way of Sin by the end of it. And you have to question what they're doing and the efficiency, but it always seems to just show up right at the right moments. Rosie going down, Trashboat going down, but they got the objective that they wanted, and the kills are going onto Stealthix. He now has his Trinity Force. At 15 minutes, he's in a very comfortable position with item timing. Leandri's and Sorkshoes finished for the Rumble as well, which is why they have been grouping so avidly for the past 2 to 5 minutes, roughly. They've found their stride with items. They're looking to use that spike and push themselves with a massive advantage.
Yeah, Jack Attack still able to farm very, very well here on the top side of the map, maintaining that 40 CS advantage, maybe a little bit less, as Rymeister going to take himself down a blue buff. You may ask as to why Zed likes to take those, but of course it does regen your energy as well, and he does use that quite a lot. So making sure you've got as many rotations of your spells available as you possibly can, definitely a good idea.
It's always nice to have CDR as well as the Zed.
That
you only really get the Brutalizer, so having extra CDR always going to be handy. The energy regen is required, of course, to have the CDR.
Yeah, so true. As Mattress, he's going to find Rosie. Takes a harpoon for it, actually doing a lot of damage there as Jack Attack one more time in a whole lot of trouble. Death Mark on him as well. He's going to get burnt down and popped by that one as Rymeister locks down the kill, heads back to his original shadow, and everything's going to be fine here for Sin. And these sort of picks are something that Absolute really cannot handle because they're the ones that want to be picking someone off. They want to be creating these sort of man advantage situations with all of their single target damage.
It feels like Sin have been controlling this game almost from the very start, and there's been a lot of turnarounds where Absolute have found kills almost on the back of mistakes of Sin. They're kind of just letting Sin come to them and say, all right, we'll fight you on your terms, but we'll make it work. And I guess you're right, Absolute need to start making things happen on their terms. They need to start engaging the fights in situations where they can catch someone out of position and not just let them continue to do that, because Zed now 2-0-1. Corki is massive. Even the Rek'Sai it's going to be very hard to kill him now.
Oh, yeah.
They're starting to, they've been, well, not even starting to, they've been dictating this entire game from the beginning. And Absolute need to recognize that that is happening, turn it around, and try and get something to go in their favor. With Dragon in 35 seconds now, probably a good place to start.
Certainly is. And how much of this is to do with the team comp here of Sin, who've got a massive sort of mid-game spike, and how much is it to do with Absolute sort of just not playing this correctly?
It's a bit of both, of course, because the Zed winning lane is a factor into this entire thing happening.
Yep.
Being able to solo win your lane relieves a lot of pressure that a jungler has to place in a lane already. The only time you'll be there is to counter gank. So he can spend a lot more of his time top lane, which he has. And it has worked for them on multiple occasions now. And the fact that that is happening is all a reflection of other lanes being much more comfortable. But Team Comps is working in favor of Sin at the moment. They've hit their power spikes at the right times, and they are rotating around those power spikes. But Absolute not even going to contest this one.
Yeah, not looking to try and do anything here, as all of the outer turrets have been lost, meaning that Sin have a lot of forward vision on this map, and it means that Absolute cannot get in there at all. Mattress and Kulo might have to be a little bit careful as well, as Riptide is going to be thrown out for funsies. Depth charge comes through. Kulo getting obliterated through an exhaust as well. Stealthic's locking down that kill, and when there's 4 people moving towards your lane, with this much mobility, things are going to be a problem.
That much mobility and that much damage that you need to respect it. Very easy kill to pick up. Just wait for the tumble out of invisibility to end, and then no options available. Actually using the Z Death Mark to avoid the knockup from Nautilus ult as well secures that kill for them quite convincingly, and it's almost translating towards the turret again.
Yeah, actually using this Trinity Force on Stealthix to get a lot of extra damage down, as well as Mattress actually going to get the hook onto Trash Boat, gets chained up, but nothing going to come from it as 2 versus 3 still in this bottom side. Rhymeister putting pressure on the mid-inner turret, and there seems to be pressure coming from everywhere. If you're Absolute, you're feeling like people are squeezing you. Juve's going to get stunned up a little bit. Was tanking the turret, but as you mentioned before, pretty tanky. Going to continue to get caught, actually, as Jack Attack just going to get headbutted out. Sin looking to try and disengage this one. Kulo moving through, and Juve's just going to sacrifice himself. Is going to mean that it's going to be a trade for a turret, maybe even a top one as well, as the inner fell down. Is the inner in the top lane going to fall? No, probably just not enough minions. There's actually another stack coming through, and Rhymeister's moved around. He's
got his blade, so it's very easy for him to do damage with the attack speed bonus, let alone all of the damage that he actually has in his items at the moment. They pick up 2 turrets for 1 kill, and they even had damage on the bottom turret. And it just feels like at the moment that every time Absolute try to make a play like that, it takes them so long to get anything, that Sin can very easily and very quickly respond to that and make it worth for them in the end. You find 1 kill, and it is in favor of Kulo, which is going to be nice. He has 3 of the team's 4 kills.
Yeah.
It's big because it's a Vayne, but then they also sacrifice 2 turrets, and the entirety of the gold that you have now acquired onto your Vayne has been given to every member of the Sin lineup.
Yeah. Things not really working here for Absolute, and you were talking about the fact that, you know, Sin probably going to be happy with an early Last Whisper on the Zed. Now already has that one completed as well, as 176 CS now.
That's pretty early.
That's very, very early for these 3 items. 2, 1, and 1. And that's mostly from all the extra global gold that they've picked up. With 5 turrets to 0 now in favor of Sin, just means that all of the global gold's been pouring into this lineup. 2 dragons to 0 as well. And they've only been losing kills, and even then, it's not very many.
It certainly has been a very controlling game from Sin thus far. They're doing very well to... Even the smallest thing of vision control has been in favor of them. They're looking around the Baron pit, for example. There's a pink very aggressively. Is Rhymeister?
Yep. Shuriken.
Yep. So yeah.
Going to lock it down, and Jack Attack falls one more time. 0, 5, and 1 now. Not exactly his best game so far for Jack Attack, and it's just been preyed upon over and over again, and Juve spending a lot of his time killing the tree has been a real problem here, but it's working out fantastically for Sin. As Rosie just going to continue to split push, and it's almost like a 1-3-1 is the option as Malik. He's going to get caught out in his own jungle. Stealthix with a lot of damage. Actually, Malik dodging out of the way with a nice flash. Body slam there as well as Midbeast dodges the Shuriken. And Sin, with 4 members, unable to lock down the Gragas. Still a bit slippery.
But meanwhile in the bot lane, of course, the relevant damage being done, and even though nobody died, someone is low. They need to respect that there is someone split pushing, but the threat for Baron is so present that they have to send Jack over there, who has no teleport.
Yeah, Malik going to get knocked up again. Rhymeister locks down the kill. Almost looking too easy now for the Sin lineup as they're going to move towards the Baron. 28 seconds onto Malik, and Just going to start this one up, and Sin just looking extremely confident. We'll see whether there's anything Absolute can do about it. They have seen it. Of course, Scrying Orb used as well.
Maokai has no teleport, which is a big factor in this. They're committing to it.
Yeah, Rymeister looking for mid-beast. Actually uses the ultimate there. They're not going to find too much as there's the equalizer down as well. Sin going to continue on the Baron. They lock it down. And Rosie just using that ult just to make sure that Absolute couldn't respond.
That hurt them a lot. There was no way for them to get near that Baron pit or even consider stealing it just because the equalizer was in a perfect position to stop that from happening. And Zed being very aggressive, using his ultimate, not to get a kill from it, but of course that was the goal. Yeah. But doing damage and distracting them even more so to secure that Baron. I mean, Sin at the moment just feels so decisive in everything they're doing, and the execution has been really, really on point for them at the moment. They are controlling this game so well that at 23 minutes, they're up about 8k.
Yeah, 8,000 gold, 23 minutes. They do have the Baron on them as well. They're stealing away buff after buff. Absolute seem to be completely at their mercy in this game. 4-1-1 now for Rymeister. Has picked himself up that QSS, so going to be able to get himself out of any chains that he didn't want to be experiencing, or potentially a Twisted Advance, something like that he wants to remove. And I think Condemn, probably something that he's having some pretty painful memories about.
Just being able to use it so that you have your ultimate available. We saw what happened to him in the bot lane when he went down, and that was... What was that?
Wow! There's the death mark yet again. And Rymeister just takes him out and then spends some time back in the brush using that ultimate to get back
filthy.
in. That was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So what happens when a Zed gets really far ahead and has a decent time in the laning phase? And I found it interesting that we haven't seen this from Rymeister. Of course, loves his assassins, loves his massive amounts of burst, but we've seen Cassiopeia, we've seen Azir, lots of consistent damage mages being used by this guy, and I'm happy to see that he's still able to play to such a high level, these assassins.
Yeah, he used to favor the assassins quite heavily, even in the tournament leading up to the OPL, playing mostly Zed and Diana, but still so adept at other mages. He's doing very well for himself, though, back onto the assassins, which is wonderful to see.
Yeah, been brilliant. Of course, LeBlanc is an option that he could have gone to, but decided he didn't want to and allowed Midbeast to last pick that one, actually opting into the matchup. So, dangerous things here for Midbeast, who's still behind an exorbitant amount of CS. Yeah, I think that Rymeister not going to be too upset here as Jack Attack actually taking a lot of damage here towards the top side. And Rymeister just waiting for that ultimate to come up, and now it's off cooldown, and I believe he just used it. So Jack Attack is most likely going to die. Oh, actually, Rymeister, the E, and dangerous game saving his life. That's why you pick up that mastery, ladies and gentlemen. It does make sure that you survive through even the most ridiculous things. Midbeast trying to find it.
I think you can do it. 3 levels.
Oh my goodness, turns it around, but the ignite from Midbeast, that one's going to lock it in as Absolute trying to engage something here on the bottom side. Kulo still alive, but Unbreakable Will from Trashbro going to mean that things are a little bit more difficult. Kulo does condemn Stealthix against the wall, but they lock down the turret, and that big one did a whole bunch of damage to Kulo, and he's going to have to get back to his fountain.
The fact that Zed brought a second-person top after already diving a Maokai, which is not something I think I would say very often.
Nope.
Picks up a kill, ends up turning it around almost as predicted, but getting a little bit juked there by the LeBlanc. Goes down, but for just the Zed, they get an inhibitor.
Yeah.
I'd say it's worth.
Yeah,
considering
I'd probably put it in the things are fine column.
I'd put it in the worth column for sure.
Most certainly. Sin going to lock down their 3rd Dragon of the game, 14 kills to 5 now. A 10,000 gold lead for Sin. Everything just working out as 7 turrets have fallen down in favor of this team. They've just had every objective go their way.
Yeah, it's crazy to think 7 turrets because you look at the other side and it is in fact 0.
Yep.
That's massive. The difference between them is unbelievably large right now, and it's Sin's game to lose from here on out.
Almost definitely.
They need to start closing it out quite convincingly. They might even consider just a 1-3-1 and have Rosie push in the super minions and then just turn around because his ult will be in range.
Yeah, and assuming Sin are going to take this game because things are looking pretty good for them, what do Absolute get from this? Looking back at this game, what do they want to change for this particular strategy? Because things haven't worked, right? So what do they look back on? What do they try and do for next time that these teams face off?
Well, I mean, if we were to sum this game up in a concise way for them to look back upon, it would just be the fact that they got out-rotated very heavily in the early game.
Yeah.
the fact that they lost mid lane was a big factor into that. But in saying that, Jude very smartly ganking the top lane very early, getting Rosie, even though the CS difference is actually still in favor of Jack Attack, even though he's 0-6.
But that would have only been worse if he hadn't have had any help.
Exactly. They've managed to keep Rosie at least even as what?
Oh, Malik's just going to get ulted. None of the shurikens are going to land, though, but he's still going in. Rymeister locks it down and just heads back to the ult shadow.
That was a really big shadow to go back to the distance.
Goodness, I thought he was just going to die. He was underneath Nexus turrets. Nexus turrets, ladies and gentlemen.
Meanwhile, in the top lane,
Nat's just going to miss the dredge line. As Sin just going to try and get this one down. Depth charge going to be used onto Rosie, who just charges his way out. Absolute going to try and start something up here as Righteous Glory is going to go off there, engaging on a trash boat. Oh, the three-man knock-up from Juve, though, as Kulo's immediately trying to escape, but in... Oh my goodness, Stealthix with so much damage now. Does have his Blade of the Ruined King. Cheeky pickaxe there as well. As now Rymeister immediately manages to cleanse out of the Twisted Advance, and Jack Attack gonna get punished. 5 members of Sin. Definitely something that this Maokai cannot tank up. 0-7-1 now. Frozen Heart was completed, but that is not enough because there is massive amounts of items on this Sin gaming lineup. They're gonna take down the top inhibitor just to match the bottom one. A lot of synergy and symmetry here in the base of Absolute, but not the kind that they're looking for. No. Well, Sin are just trying to, you know, work some art into their destruction of the Absolute base.
I would be impressed if that was their ultimate goal there. It's mostly just to take an inhibitor so that they have an inhibitor down, but if they were looking for art, then by all means, abstract art's probably better than symmetry.
Yeah, true. I guess, but still working fairly symmetrically.
Yeah.
So whatever.
I mean, if you have
you might be talking about things that are actually relevant here, Rusty, but I'd just like to mention the fact that they've created some symmetry in the base of Absolute.
They just need a tunnel on the other side so my mini-map feels it's OCD, but
yeah, I know, right?
Requirement.
Yeah, why was I talking about symmetry when things aren't really working here? I'm just trying to troll you here, Rusty.
That last fight, though, in particular, Atlas, was them initiating, Absolute initiating onto an Alistar. And
it's not a good idea.
It says a lot about how the game is actually going and whose favor it is in if you have to initiate onto an Alistar because you don't have another option.
Yeah, they were just looking to try and find something from somewhere, I guess. And look, if they land a hook, they're going to try and go in as last-ditch efforts. I mean, you have to try and make something happen. You can't just roll over and lose a game. So Absolute just need to, I guess, try and do anything that they possibly can to find a team fight in their favor. I guess Midbeast now does have the Zhonya's Hourglass completed, but not a whole lot of damage on this LeBlanc, as Sin is going to take their second Baron. Rymeister just standing off to the side. Actually decided to go in and help out, taking this one down. Already at half health.
How kind of him.
Yeah, Absolute. All in their base, trying to clear out the super minions, and this Baron going to go down very, very quickly. Trashboat was standing guard, the guardsman cow in the jungle.
Yeah, no means to contest here from Absolute. Both inhibitors down in the top and bottom lane, especially the bot lane inhibitor in particular, makes it very difficult for you to find any way of getting near the Baron pit. So that's going to go down for free. And you can see Zed, hyper aggression.
Yep, already in on the top side of the map. Just uses his ult shadow to escape as Midbeast down to half health already. Stealthix doing so much damage. Locks it down with a phosphorus bomb. And Malik as well, made to look like he's squishy as anything. That was ridiculous. Inhibitor's going to fall. The bottom lane is respawned, but Sin with Baroned up minions heading towards the Nexus turrets. And this has been a brilliant game for our new members here, heading into the OPL, taking out the other team that's headed through the OCS into the OPL this time around. And Sin now just destroying team members and everything else that belongs to Absolute. Nice headbutt pulverized there just to lock down a kill onto Mattress and Kulo. The last man standing going for the desperation play. But it's going to be the Nexus falling, and Sin with a decisive victory. 17,000 gold in the end.
A very convincing victory for Sin Gaming, and they looked amazing coming out of that game. And I mean, two of the teams very new to the league. Sin have really shown why they deserve a spot in the OPL from that game alone. Yeah,
they most certainly have. And what I really, really liked about what we saw from Sin there is that they've gone back to their roots. This is how we've been seeing Sin win their games. Of course, you casted them all through the OCS. And they were picking these mid-game comps. They were picking these comps that sort of you can be ultra aggressive early on because that's what it's built for. And I like seeing Rymeister back on the Zeds, a champion that does peak in the mid game that he can really make these plays on.
Yeah, throwing back to the Zed and still managing to pick up kills in laning phases. Someone like Zed up against a very high mobility champion like LeBlanc.
Yeah.
Convincing win of the mid lane in particular. You can see Juve smartly ganking the top lane. The teamwork from all of them, recognizing when they hit their item spikes, the timings, when to go for objectives, when to dive as well. Everything was going so well for Sin.
Yeah, and it's another string on Stealthix's bow as well. Yeah. Picking up the Corki now. He's played a whole lot of different champions, ranging from Urgot to Jinx, now to Corki. He's played some Lucian as well. So all around the different playstyles that you can possibly opt for there in the bottom lane. We sort of mentioned that Stealthix was largely one of these players that likes to pick up the likes of Jinx, stuff like that. Sivir there as well a little bit. So, look, now he's played everything but. I mean, he played one game of Jinx, hasn't actually played any Sivir just yet, and we'll see what comes out of Stealthix as we move through the tournament. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a short break, but when we get back, Direwolves going to be taking on the Chiefs for a rematch of our